morning, YouTube, YTPC. Dare I ask, how is everyone doing in these troubled times? I realise we have big challenges, historic challenges around everywhere in the world. Not only the plague, Corona, but big election issues in the US, economic issues. Well, we're all in the same boat regarding Corona, but at least now there's a vaccine on the way, probably 2 at least, and there are 5 candidates, so light at the end of the tunnel. The end of the tunnel is probably, though, sometime in the spring next year. Tried to get a flu shot not long ago, and all of our doctors seem to have forgotten to order it or something like that, or there's a shortage, so I can't even get a regular flu shot. Anyway, the sun is shining. I'm back on my balcony while I can do it. As nice as the shed of serenity is, it's a bit more space like this. Housekeeping. A new pipe, estate pipe, Oldenkott. That's an old pipe name here in Europe. And this one is actually a beautiful example with lovely grain. It's got that little red and white dot here. Beautiful. I got it from PPM, my friend in Serbia, who does excellent estate pipes. Bears 7 in eBay. I'll leave a link there, but he does show and tell with YouTube, so you can see some of those pipes there, but always I find something. This is 9mm, and I always wanted an Oldenkott because that was quite popular in Switzerland. You go back to the 50s or the 60s. One of the advantages of the shed of serenity is it's quiet, and I can't hear the bells in there or people screaming on the street and having very loud conversations. So it certainly has its pluses, but as it's just so glorious today. In it, some Moontrance. A lot of people say, oh, don't smoke that in a briar, it will ghost. As much as I love ghost stories, it's a bit of a non-issue for me with pipes because I'm an aromatic smoker, so if there's like 5% of a previous nice sweet lovely tobacco carrying on for a couple of 3 bowls in the next one, doesn't matter, adds a nice nuance to it. So unless the most powerful ones I've got, like maybe Eileen Stream or Multi Dolce, maybe I'd stick to a Cobb or a Meerschaum, but most of them I'm quite happy to smoke it in my briar, and I do think sometimes they're better, depending on the tobacco, in a briar. Tamper Tantrum. As you know, he makes tampers beautifully, and I bought one. Look at this. Again, look at the grain. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Nice and light. Nice grip on it. That's not a riot in the street, that's the school kids, you know, coming home for lunch. And sometimes you think, you know, what is going on there? But it's a lovely Tamper. But you'll have seen them in YouTube. Leave a link as well to my dear brother of YTPC, because he really makes beautifully carved briar and olive wood and various ones. I think even what do you call more wood, he makes them in those as well. Listening to a bit of winter jazz. So this one got a 3.0 in tobacco reviews, and it's Black Cavendish in Virginia. It's not actually overly heavily topped. It's got decent amounts of vanilla. You know, you don't have to search for the flavors. Tropical fruit is in there, so it's just about the right level, I think. Of course, it's heavy on the Virginia, not so much Black Cavendish, so you could bite yourself if you really push it, but if you don't rush it, you won't. You know, it's reasonably easy, well behaved, as we often say in tobacco, fairly well behaved. I did find you have to dry it down to a certain level. It becomes very wet, and if you smoke it there with the steam, you can always get a mouth irritation. So you know, you leave the tin open half a day or something like that, just to bring it down to about that 70% humidity, relative humidity, and now it's perfect. I've got everything ready now for winter. I've got a wood order in for the fireplace. I've got plenty of wine. I've picked up 5 bags, huge bags of leaves, and given it a last mow. I put out the bird houses for the poor old birds in winter, and I've wrapped up my peach tree and all these 1,000 things that you have to do. Cleared the garage out that I can put my car in it. Pretty well, you know, I'm ready. Preparedness is everything, you know. Took down the Swiss flag yesterday because gets wet and freezes, it destroys the fibre, so most people take them in for the winter, you know. Not that we're unpatriotic in Switzerland, but just pragmatic. Well, a topic I wanted to raise with you is captions. I've been getting bombarded, well not bombarded, but fairly regularly I get some report that's filed that I have closed captions. And YouTube says, well, it's always a nice idea to have captions for different languages and people that can't hear properly or whatever. But I find it slightly irritating because you get it as if you've done something wrong, and you think, oh God, you know, it's they don't take your video down or anything. It's just someone has complained that you didn't do especially for them captions. Well, here's the thing. I've started to try and think every video to allow the option of captions, but you can't do that so easily on an iPad. You have to go to the desktop YouTube video system, and then you can go in and you can, if it's in English, you can have English captions, you know, if they have the automated option there. Now sometimes they do, and for reasons I can't understand, sometimes they just, it's in grey and not active and you can't do it. So the tool is a little bit off and on. Then of course you've got people who say, oh, I want it in German, you know, or I want it in Uzbekistani, you know. Well, you can't put 50,000 languages across your screen. On a few selected ones I try and do also the German option. Again, it's only good if I get the auto translate, because I'm not going through every video writing out what I said. I mean, I spend a fair amount of time with videos anyway, preparing them, editing them, and there's just a limit. So as much as I sympathise with the hard of hearing, those who are deaf, maybe can't lip read, whatever, and will try to do that option, they have to realise it might not be possible for me to do them for every video. What irritates me about YouTube is they just get it, they don't even look at it to see if it's fair, and they pass it straight on to you and say, over to you, it's your problem. And that I find rather irritating. But I will try to comply. I don't know if any of you, I know Uncle Phil got a few notifications like that, and if you have them as well and how you look at them, maybe you've got a good way to always reliably put the captions in. Anyway, that's a slight gripe I have with this caption story. Well, I would like to do today some quick shout outs, and they will have to be quite quick because there's an awful lot that have piled up. I didn't do them since about early October, and must have reached about 740 subscribers now. Very grateful and amazed that within a year of being active in videos, at least, that I have so many, and would like always to thank and mention those who have subscribed. So I will race a little bit through this list, but I just want everyone to know I do appreciate when you have subscribed to my channel and find the content interesting, and for all the comments you give me too. Joe Wagner, who is a jazz musician, thank you very much, sir. One of my subscribers. Dean the Philistine, another wonderful name. A very educated gentleman. If you like philosophical, intellectual discussions, have a look at his videos. Chris the Woodsman Fell, expert in bushcraft and wood law, which is a lovely word, isn't it? Wood law. Knowing and understanding the woods, it's great. And he does also cooking and things like that. What's up, mate? That's a great name, I think. Thank you, sir, for your sub. Smoking, thank you, sir. Dude Reviews, Austin Quinlan, John Pitterese, who we've seen some videos from in recent times. Very good channel, have a look at that. Constitutional Piper, also a video maker. Suave P, thank you, sir. Josh Langevin, Mick Moore, Jose Feld, Cheshire Piper, thank you, gentlemen, for your subscription. Mohammed Al Sahim, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Tay Cook Leon, thank you also. We are a very international community, we should never forget that. Jeff Page, Bucket Ducket, great. Andrew Clark, David Green, Bully Porter Jones, thank you, gentlemen. CM Canuck, I assume from Canada, thank you. Ray Fraser, John DeSanto, Dry Fly Fisher, thank you. Paul Thomas and William 2010. All of you, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. I do appreciate it. I get more and more fascinated by estate pipes because of their history, and some of them are decades and decades old, you know, and I'm always wondering what lives that they have touched, you know. Well, I touched on the topic of number of subscribers, and I was pondering, prompted by 13 Pipes, who raised the issue of you know, monetarisation. Would you do it or not? And it's I think everyone has to decide for themselves, of course, for many different reasons and circumstances, and you know, either way. In my particular case, I probably would avoid it, and the reason is that if I'm monetarized, I'm much more vulnerable to the material I can like to use. At the moment, I use some material which some claimants say, oh, that's ours, that's copyrighted. Now in some cases I know it's a blatant bloody lie. For example, my music at the beginning was claimed by someone who made a film in the 90s using totally different rendition of that music, and the song was written 300 years ago, so don't tell me that those producers wrote the thing. So I think you get a lot of that, but basically I'm glad to say YouTube has got my back. They, out of ads that get placed around my videos, why would anyone put an ad around my video? I mean, you know, it won't be for pipes, that's for sure. But they managed then to pay them a modest contribution, and that's the end of the story. And I need a diversity of materials to make the kind of videos that I enjoy. It's no good for me to go to the free stuff, because I won't, you know, if you take the ghost stories that I did and that music, and almost anything seems to be claimed by somebody or other. But anyway, to get to the point, because I'm not monetarized, it's okay, and YouTube says, well, you know, ad placements bring enough that they're quite happy to let me do that, and the claimants are happy, you know, and of course I'm not getting any money, but I only do this for my personal pleasure and as a hobby. So that's one point why I wouldn't monetize it in my particular case. And the other thing is, how big do you want to be? Because 1,000 is not, as we know, very much. Mutton Chop had 35,000 subscribers, and we have members who have 5,000 to 10,000 in YTPC, still active, and some even more. And I think it's perfectly legitimate, of course, to monetize that. It's time and effort, but then it's like a kind of part of your job. So I think for me, it transforms it into a hobby, to a sort of part-time job, and then you have obligations, and then you have to keep developing it, to keep growing it. And I don't want to get to the point where I'm a slave to it, or think I have to grow it and grow it. So I just want to enjoy it, enjoy making it, and keep it at a level where I can have my other hobbies going on, you know. And it's important to have a diversity of hobbies, I think, when you retire. Maybe 3 or 5, you know, and then you're nicely busy. But if I just get sucked into one and have to always worry and focus upon that, okay, if you get some money, you've got a remuneration, but it's not where I want to go. So I won't monetize my videos or ask YouTube, were I ever to go above 1,000, not to do that, which I'm sure they'll like, you know. But I'm all right with it. I know some people have complained about ads, but you know, that's their business model. I mean, there wouldn't be a YouTube if they didn't have revenue going in, and most of it is from advertisers. You know, I mean, the whole thing wouldn't go anywhere without that. You have some subscribers. I personally pay for premium because I then can filter all the videos out, and because I use it a great deal, not only for what we're doing here in YTPC. I watch all kinds of films and videos and documentaries. It's, for me, far more important than Netflix. That's how it is. I mean, I find Netflix very static, very unchanging, and I really have to search for stuff that is worth watching. That's a personal view, and we still have it. We keep it actually for when the nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, visit us, because of the children's offering that they have there. And occasionally, yes, I find a film or a series that I think is worth watching, you know. But YouTube, I find, in its diversity and richness and reaching back into old documentaries and all kinds of things, it's like a kind of Wikipedia in videos, you know. And it's worth it, I think. Yeah, it's, what does it cost me? I don't know, 160 francs a year or something like that. But if you go to the cinema in Switzerland, it used to cost you, when they were open, 17 francs, about $20, you know. So you go 6 or 7 times in the year, you spend the same money. I must use YouTube every day and watch very little regular TV, apart from news programs and things like that. So I'm still very grateful that YouTube is there, and just wish they would sometimes be not so automated, but I suppose they have to control their head count and use automation just like any other industry does to make their products. I very much like this, you know, because once you've got the moisture right, and it's not, for those of you that hate very heavily topped aromatics, I wouldn't describe it as that. I would say it's right in this nice zone where you don't have to think, you know, oh, was that a vanilla somewhere in there? You know, you find the flavours, but they're just a nice level, very nice level. I hope you all find a way to stay well and safe, and I hope everything works out with those US elections. I'm not a citizen, but it's a country very dear to me, and I hope things work out the proper way. Anyway, you all take care now, and I'll see you in a few days with another video on another topic. Take care everyone. Cheers. Bye bye.